So in today's video, I basically wanted to discuss the real reason why I believe we haven't received any news regarding the new Resident Evil 4 DLC. Now, right before we get started, as many of you guys are well aware, for those of you that actually tuned in when I basically watched Capcom Showcase, I did not approve and appreciate that recent showcase. I thought that was probably the worst showcase we've seen for Capcom in quite some time. Capcom's been doing a fantastic job, don't get me wrong. I am a Capcom creator. I do love Capcom games, but one of the main reasons why I thought that wasn't a great showcase was mostly due to the fact that 3 games that they showcased were trailers that we already saw. They were literally repeat trailers, especially when it comes to games like Resident Evil 4 VR2. We got the same exact trailer that was already released and announced like weeks ago. And then also we got Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, one could argue that, they did give us the same trailer, but then they did give us a little bit more, with the developer and stuff. He was talking. But again, why did they give us the same exact trailer in a showcase? The whole point of a showcase is to showcase new games that we haven't yet seen. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why they did that. And the other third game that they gave us the same exact trailer for was Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, I believe is the name. I'm pretty sure I saw the same exact trailer just a few months ago. I think it was the Game Awards. I might be incorrect, but all I can say is I'm pretty sure I saw that trailer. So to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the recent Capcom showcase, mostly for that main reason. Like, what kind of a showcase just gives us the same exact trailers that we already got and then just repurpose them for the showcase? Like, that makes zero sense in my opinion. Whether or not you actually were a fan of the showcase, if you liked a certain game, as mentioned, I'm actually quite excited for Dragon's Dogma 2, but that's not enough to justify that being a good showcase. I also noticed, I was aware while watching the Capcom showcase that a lot of fans were actually really happy for the Ace Attorney series, coming back, them remastering and making the old games available for the newer systems. That's great, but again, as a showcase, we should all of the games that are showcased should be new. You know what I mean? Should be stuff that we haven't seen before. So I don't understand why they gave us the same Resident Evil 4 VR2 trailer, same Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, and as well as Dragon Dogma 2. But going back to my point, the main reason why I think that, Capcom hasn't given us anything regarding, any news regarding Resident Evil 4 DLC is mostly due to the fact that if we remember a couple of months ago, back in the start of this year in January, there was a lot of articles and as well as interviews where the producers were talking about Resident Evil 4 and how they were just very, focused on finishing the game, because right around the January mark of this year, they were kind of like in the final stages of development. And you know what? Kind of judging after the release of Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think that's basically one of the reasons why, the Mercenaries was missing 2 and very important characters that, that the original game had. Those characters, of course, being Albert Wesker and Ada Wong. Those are huge characters in the Mercenaries. They were a part of the OG Resident Evil 4, as just mentioned. So it made no sense that those characters were missing. And it did feel like they were missing. I mean, of course, this is no surprise for you guys that are watching the channel. My channel is called Project Wesker. That's one of my favorite characters. That is, my top favorite character in the Resident Evil franchise, with me being light sensitive and stuff and always having to wear shades. So, you know what I mean? Like, if a big character like that is missing in one of the game modes that the original had, that's an issue. You know what I mean? Now, is it a big issue? Now, is it something that I'm going to be complaining about? No. So if anything, this kind of evidence of them not putting Albert and also Ada into the Mercenaries, it kind of gives us enough evidence to ascertain that maybe the reason why those characters were missing from the Mercenaries is because they ran out of time. I think that this is a great theory to support why we haven't gotten any information regarding the Resident Evil 4 DLC yet, because again, I mean, even if we look back to Resident Evil 8 DLC, it got announced just a couple months after Resident Evil 8 released. Now, Resident Evil 8 released in May of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And then in June or July, I don't remember the exact date. I think it was June or July. On Twitter, Capcom did specifically say that they were working on a DLC and that it was supposed to be free and that they'll have more information for us later down the line. Now, of course, we did get, Shadow of Rose, and unfortunately, we did actually have to pay for it, which was kind of weird. And so it does kind of beg the question also, if we do get Resident Evil 4 DLC down the line, are we going to be paying for Albert and also Ada? Because that's going to be kind of lame. Now, don't get me wrong, I am going to be purchasing it if that ends up being the case. But just like the case with Resident Evil 8's DLC, that was actually supposed to be free. But you know, at the end, they charged $20 on that. So again, this is not really an issue. These are just minute issues, but these are valid questions. You know what I mean? But going back to what I was saying about Resident Evil 4 DLC not being finished at all, I mean, it kind of, you know, with Capcom's track record, it wouldn't be surprising because it seems to be like that's exactly what occurred with Resident Evil 8's DLC. Shadow of Rose was not finished at all. That's why they didn't give us any information regarding that until what, later last year, and then it just released. I think they started giving us information back in October or September of last year, and the DLC did release, you know, late last year. So it was roughly around the same time, you know, and a lot of people were also suggesting that we're probably going to get, you know, maybe a full trailer or whatnot, probably near the end of this year, probably near the Game Awards show and stuff, or the Tokyo Game Awards. So it's probably going to be around then that we actually get a glimpse of the DLC. Now, on top of all of this speculation that we were going to get any information regarding Separate Ways DLC at the Capcom Showcase or at Summer Games Fest, another big theory that people had, a lot of people were assuming that we were going to get a glimpse of the Resident Evil 9 game. But again, I think that's way too, I think people got way too excited for that. I was definitely not. In fact, you know, a lot of people were asking me at the Summer Games Fest and as well as the Capcom Showcase streams that I did, a lot of people were asking me, hey, do you think that we're going to get Resident Evil 9? And I kept answering, no, I don't think we're going to get Resident Evil 9. Mostly due to the fact that it seems to me like Capcom and the Resident Evil developers don't really know what they're going to be doing for Resident Evil 9. And now the evidence to support that, you know, claim is going back to what occurred in January of this year. As many of you guys are aware, if you guys are subscribed to the channel, and by the way, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, consider subscribing because I post Resident Evil videos every single week, and also let me know down in the comments so I can give you a shout out in the next video. But what we basically discussed was back during January's time, Capcom ambassadors actually had a meetup, New York, Los Angeles, and Tokyo. They basically called all of the Capcom ambassadors to go over there and kind of discuss, you know, what they wanted to see in the future for Resident Evil. And just recently, if you guys have been on Twitter, we've also, you know, Capcom's also been pushing out this new survey that's basically asking fans, hey, you know, let us know what you want us to work on. You know, there was also like slots there that suggested if you wanted to click, I want a Dino Crisis remake, or you wanted to write whatever remake that you wanted to see. But it seems to me like Capcom is really just, you know, they're kind of just, well, not Capcom in general. I am specifically talking about the Resident Evil dev team. It seems the Resident Evil dev team doesn't know exactly what they're doing for Resident Evil 9. So I think that's why they're kind of just outsourcing that and asking the fans, asking, you know, the community to see what they come up with so that they can come back with that information and work on Resident Evil 9. So do I think that Resident Evil 9 is actually going to come out next year? No, I think it's way too early for that. And of course, this is somebody that, of course, keeps up with the news. I've also been seeing some other speculations of people suggesting that, you know, we might get Resident Evil, you know, at the Game Awards. You know, if we end up getting something like that, it'll probably be, you know, very up, you know, it'll just probably be like Resident Evil 9. Like, I don't think they have a full story written and, you know, produced. But again, this is all just my speculation. This is what I'm assuming in regards to Resident Evil 9. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to click this video where I talk about 5 things that the new Resident Evil CGI movie should do. Anyways, thank you so much for watching.